Nail techs, are you leaving a little gap? Stop doing this. So I've seen some technique everywhere on social media that we're leaving a gap now. Now, a gap is recommended to be left, and I believe the reason why we're suggesting, or I'm not suggesting it, that they leave the gap is to avoid hitting the proximal nail fold. It's an idea to leave the gap, especially if you're not as skilled, but we want to get as close to that proximal nail fold as possible, because when I, as a customer, come in to have a nail fill or a new set, I don't want it to look like it's been grown out for a week when I walk out and I pay some good money to a skilled person to do this. So I have an expert with us today that is going to help me discuss why the gap, and should we or shouldn't we, and what's going on with the gap in particular. Lysa Comfort, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
We want to talk about the gap. I'm seeing a lot and I really don't like it. I understand maybe when you're learning, we can pull back a little bit, maybe a 1/16 of an inch until we get better at it when we're going around that cuticle. So this is a gap between the proximal nail fold and the product that you're putting on, whether it's a tip, whether it's sculpted, whatever it is. I am totally against the gap. Maybe I'll let it go when you're trying to learn and you get closer and closer as you're learning those technical skills. But ultimately, a customer does not want to see any type of gap whatsoever. Now, some are lending to the fact that maybe we should have a gap so we can prevent allergies. But if you are getting allergies from putting it too close, then you're doing something wrong with the product. We don't want to touch, but we do want to get as close as possible, and we want to use the product properly so that allergies are not even on the table when you use the product properly. So Lysa, we've talked about this. You've even mentioned that educators around the world are educating to leave a gap. Are they meaning to do this for long term? What are you experiencing out there with the gap?
Well, this has definitely been a hot topic for me for many years because of the fact that I really teach the importance of what we would call an encapsulated application. What I mean by that is making certain that when product is being applied onto the nail plate, there is no exposure of any natural nail plate. Why this is important is because the nail plate that does not get covered with product ends up being overfiled.
It's vulnerable,
leaving us to have an opportunity for moisture to come in. The nail plate is pliable. It moves, it bends, and it will definitely respond when you have too much product on one portion of it and not on the other. There are many reasons why you don't want to leave that gap. For the integrity of the nails, protection, and more importantly, so that the skin doesn't feel the need to close the gap and naturally overgrow. Most people don't realize that, but when you leave that gap, your body wants to respond by quickly covering it. And what does it do? It provides more eponychium, more keratinized skin, and starts to give you an opportunity to grow a thicker, more dense proximal fold. And what is this causing over time? More problems for elimination, more problems for us to maintain the skin to look healthy and clean. So it's a multitude of problems. And yes, why is it happening is from the educators teaching people to do it.
It's so funny. When I first saw this, I thought, oh my goodness, that goes against everything that I've been trained myself for the 40-year period. Every time I sat down at the nail table was to get that product as close as I possibly can so the client can get another couple of days out of it or get their money's worth it. I was so proud of how close I could get it and be so in particularly smooth. That's what I focused on for 40 years of my career. And having that smooth is when it grows out. You take pride on that smooth grow out, so much so that sometimes you can't even tell it's grown out, especially if they wear a lighter color.
Exactly.
You can literally just take that. I used to call it mini manicures. They used to come in maybe halfway through an appointment for a picky customer, and then we would file it all off or just remove the nail polish and reapply. And the gap was so smooth because we learned the technique. So again, I think this is another one of those circumstances, which I hate to see, is that we are actually compromising the correct technique and using an incorrect technique to compensate for bad technique or scared to learn the actual technique. So
100%.
I think of it more of that point of view, and I didn't think of it from the nail growth point of view. I think of it from the aesthetic point of view, my skill point of view, and the customer's dollar point of view. So close the gap. definitely close that gap. Don't leave that for the reasons that Lysa said and for the reasons that I said. We want to make sure we get it as close as possible. Okay, the only time I will allow it is when you're applying, you want to maybe don't go too close because maybe it's touching or just a little too far away. Take the too far away. We don't want to be touching. So take that too far away. But as you keep doing that over and over and over and you practice your skills, you'll be able to get closer and closer and smoother and smoother. And you'll be so proud of yourself when you did, because if nobody else is doing it, you're going to stand out as someone who's doing it. So don't let your customers walk away with a week's growth because you were leaving a gap because you're not sure about your technique. Practice those techniques and get that gap closed. Wouldn't you say, Lysa?
Absolutely. And remember that you can work very thin, and that gives you the freedom to get really close to the skin. And your customer will be so satisfied with the results, and they'll be able to see the growth without any excessive bulk in the area either. Because when we leave that gap, we have a tendency to leave a little bit more of a thicker margin there. So that's something to consider.
And I know it can be done, you guys, because Lysa and I have been doing it for 40 years. So it can be done.
Absolutely.
And if you want to be the top nail technician, make sure you close that gap. Thanks for joining me, Lysa. I really appreciate you lending your expertise on a great topic like this. Thanks, Lysa.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Catch you guys in the next video. Bye.